Hi guys,
Hello.
welcome back or to the Grey Couch, where we say that life and marriage really is not black or white but many shades of grey that we get to explore together to be better persons in better marriages. How you guys doing?
Uh, Hopefully well.
Okay.
Because I feel like we haven't been in person for a few. We've been kind of
Interviewing
interviewing, yes.
and
with
being
people.
interviewed.
Yeah. Yeah, it felt good. I feel like to be on the other side of the camera with someone else.
Not so good for some of us. But so today, what are we talking about? Before we get any further, we haven't even introduced ourselves, right? I am Stanley.
And I'm a Tito.
Okay, and today we're just trying to explore this concept about sensitivity and men and women and stuff like that. And reason being, we're just trying to stay in the community series, which is holiday season. You're going to be having dinner, lunch, parties with in-laws, outlaws, and there's going to be a lot of conversations, So we're having a conversation, a couple of guys, and we're trying to remember the good old days. I guess you say good old days. Some people wanted us to move forward, and other people said, let's keep things the way they were, and then Tito, our conversation, like, you guys can be sentimental at times. I mean, why holding on to the past when you want to push forward? And then that just brings up the thing that we're talking about. Guys, we're not supposed to be sentimental. Are you supposed in air quotes, please? And that is the ladies that are more sentimental than men. And I'm just like, no. And so we're now bringing it to you guys on the Grey Couch. Are men really more sentimental? Who is more sentimental, men or women? And can sentimentality, if that's a word, be an issue or a benefit?
I mean, I guess it depends on what you mean by sentimental. If sentimental veers into, trying to hold on to the way things are and not adjusting or not growing, I would say. Yeah, that's the key word. Not growing or going along with the times, and that's a problem because I feel like, what's the word? Psychology says cognitive flexibility is a skill that every adult needs. If the time changes, you have to change with the times. If you cannot be saying, this is how it worked for my parents, this is how it worked for me, this is how it worked, in 19 Bobo. For those who don't know, 19 Bobo is like in the olden days. So, it stops people from moving forward, and there's nothing like that to kind of sometimes stop a couple in their tracks. And I think for me, what I found out is that many times people don't tell you this. This is why they don't move along with you as the other spouse, but it's because they're longing for the way that things used to be. And I'm like, I also, for example, I'm longing for those days, right? I'm longing for the days with our children, the days for when life used to be freer and when you'd had less cares. However, those days are no longer here. So what do, you see? So yeah, I think that becomes sometimes one of the key issues, right? Then it devolves into other things. It's like, you're trying to control me, you don't want me to use my time, you don't want me to do this, you don't want me to do that. Or some people just avoid the whole thing altogether and pretend like the times didn't even change, right? You still want to do the things you were doing before children came and be the person you were before children came. And that always begets the question for me, then what are you doing in the marriage? Plain and simple. I know whenever I ask that question, Stan is always like, girl, you just go from 0 to 100. I'm like, yeah.
In less than 60 seconds.
Because the 0 to 100 always lets people know that you cannot continue the way things are going and expect that, everything is going to kind of, I guess, remain the same. Well, what's the word I would use there now? I don't even know. But that's kind of that. But it's funny because when maybe the other spouse mentions it or the woman mentions, then the man gets upset and be like, oh, but I'm trying, I'm doing everything that you wanted me to do. And it's like, I want you to do, or you should be doing. Like,
from the guy's perspective, though, I'm just thinking, I think there should be like a balance. You build from the past and go into the future. I'm just in it. I just think the fear of, for me, let me use myself, the fear of the unknown sometimes, like you're losing the success that you had in the past and you don't know if it's going to work out in the future, can be a hesitancy that I have, just being honest there, And whenever a girl just comes and throws in a wrench into it and says, listen, let's just scrap everything and start from the beginning. What's that thing we normally think about? Sunken costs, which comes to my head. I mean, after all the effort we've been, can't we just try and salvage? I mean, there are the things that can be salvaged, and then there are things that should not be salvaged. And I guess it's the wisdom to tell the difference between the two. To know, okay, we've tried our best here. Let this one go, so that the new can come. You know, and that's the challenge that I have. As in, do I empty the cup and start again afresh, or do I try and keep filling up the cup I have and hope that it will turn from water to milk?
I guess the question is, how do you speak to your brothers? That would be the question, I feel. Like, how do you speak to your brothers?
My band of brothers.
Your band of merry men. Your band of brothers to not, I guess, because I think it can be a block. A mental block, you know, and a mental block is something you're not even aware is there. But then you now act it out unconsciously, right? Unconsciously. So it can be a block to moving forward, decision making, and just like, you know, not letting the other partner kind of move forward. So how do people kind of, I would say, reframe? How do you think about it in terms of, you know, this is not just about me, right? In that sense. So I guess that would be for me, but something you're going to tell the men now.
My men, are you listening? Have to find a way to find a balance between letting go of the past and launching forward into the future. An interesting concept that I'm trying to think through is, if I am the ancestor of my future version of myself, what can I be throwing into the mix today so that the future version of myself can enjoy? And that has helped me a little bit. So I don't know if that would be helpful to me and my band of brothers. At least, you know, the future, because a lot of times there's this future myopia where you're not really thinking the future. You know, we've had this conversation at the time, like, what about when the kids are in college and things like that? I'm like, you know, until you mentioned this thing, I was not really thinking that far out, you know, and that might just be me. I know there's some people that when the child is born, they're already imagining who they're going to get married to, where they're going to live, and things like that, and you start praying for them from now. But no, I'm not one of those type of people. So perhaps that might be another thing to try and look into the future. Okay, I'm the ancestor. What do I want to do now so that the future version of myself can be better? If it means watching what I'm eating, watching my sleeping habits, watching my entertainment habits, watching my spending habits, things like that. This is confession session on the couch.
Watching your thinking habits.
That too.
Yeah, so I guess that's kind of it, because, you know, truth be told, many times sentimentality can spill over into emotionality, and I think we talked about emotionality before. And many times people don't talk about emotions because they feel like it's not things we should have. It's not like, you know, or that they're bad things, right? Especially when it comes to things like anger and envy and all those kinds of things. We only almost like focus on the bad emotions, but emotions are neither good nor bad. They're part of the wiring, right? Like literally, like if you think about it, there are times when you sit down and you're in a situation and you can literally feel the emotions. Like you can literally feel them rising. Obviously, if you do nothing to them, they will kind of ebb, right? But you can feel it. So you know this is not a fly-by-night kind of situation. It's something that the body is producing, right? Like when I say the body, like your, you know, sentient being. It's not something that somebody gives to you. You literally produce it either in your, you know, mind, or, you know, and then you feel it in your body. So these are not things that you would say, oh, it's just fluff that people are talking about. And so then the question becomes, what do you do with those things? How do you manage them? That's why you say emotion management.
I think I need to register for that course in emotion management, because growing up always they thought that what's that fluff, what you cloth, they say like, get over it now and be a man, as in just chest it, shoulder it, and then the tendency is to suppress it so much such that a lot of times you don't even know that it's there. You know, you don't know that you have finished, and then you now listen to yourself get angry at your spouse or your kids, and you don't know that this was just the emotion trying to, wasn't it, badger more, to show
out.
up, you know, you know, and in time past, this has led to like self-pity, depression, you know, but then you can't show all these things, so you show the emotion that society or you've been inbred to think that's macho, I'm on control, I've got this, you know, and so you shout and just try. So I guess the emotions that as a guy, so I'm just saying you ladies that have an advantage, the emotions as a guy that I was.
I don't know about advantage.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess sometimes it depends on the society, because I think for us, from where we come from, right, which is another thing, everybody needs emotional management, I'm telling you, because where we come from, I feel like we were almost like, as a society, most times we were kind of almost like socialized to let it out in forms of contempt, right, and aggression and just snarkiness, you know, and that's also not good. Yes, I may not punch the wall, but I could now say things to people that are so contemptuous, and it's because of the way that I'm feeling, right? But I hide it under this, you know, cloak of, oh, you know, look at that one over there, things like that. And so that also comes into the relationship that you have with the spouse, where you're kind of being contemptuous. So, I mean, we talked about emotional management. That's something that everybody needs, and I feel like even for these kind of things, we're talking about band of brothers. Everybody needs a band, right? We're talking about community. So, I feel like we talk about things like this on the couch because we believe that everybody listening to us is part of our community, right? These are things that are important for us to think on and reflect on, because it's like if you don't work on it, they seep out through the cracks, right? They kind of seep out through the cracks, leaking out, and you're just like, oh, what is going on here? And honestly, you know, I feel like I've said it before that sometimes the reason why we're here is because of our own. We talk about the fact that we're ancestors, because of our own children, right? Because our boys and our children are criers, like criers. And you know, it was so like, what is going on here? And you know, then you say, why are you crying? What's going on? But then you know, I'd be like, I can't tell them not to cry. That would be ridiculous, because you can see this is how they were born. Like, I didn't do anything to make these children like this, right? And so it's kind of like, okay, let's work with this and see where we're going. You know, the older they get, obviously, the more they're able to express and talk and all of that. And so I started to say, who's the person saying that, you know, boys have to be a certain way or things like that? So so.
Well, I mean, I can say that now that I'm a man, growing up as a boy, I had all those issues, and I can imagine what my dad would do if something happened and I just bust out crying. I'm like, God, what's wrong with you? But as this,
you get extra.
In addition to that, but you know, with the kids and the boys, I'm trying to work on this emotional avoidance and say, okay, if this is the way they're expressing their emotion, let me respect it and try and prune it and try and help them. Because it's okay to express yourself like that. Having worked for myself, like there's a story that comes to mind. Like, in the car, we're coming back from football, and the older kids wasted time. The child wasted time in trying to get ready. I'm like, if I had known you're going to waste this much time, I would have gone home, dropped child 2, and then come back to come and get you. And right there and then, he said something that shocked me. He said, you know, Dad, you're actually making me feel bad for taking all the time to get my stuff and stuff like that. And you know, right there, I just said, you know, this is him expressing himself, that this is making me feel bad as opposed to this thing. And I just caught on that. I was like, you know, I apologize. I didn't mean to make you feel bad. I was just stating an observation that if I knew it was going to take us 2 hours extra, I could have dropped your younger brother and come back to come get you. And I thank you for expressing how it was making you feel. You know, I mean, I really appreciated that bit of and I told her this is emotional intelligence you're expressing right here and there. You know, and I kind of like it. Kind of, you know, encourage him to continue in that way. Like, this is making me feel this way. Let me talk about it in a calm, not this. This is just the fact of the matter, you know. And so that takes me to the point like,
can I get my coins? Can I get my coins, please?
You get your coins after we finish
no,
recording.
I need it right now. I need it right now.
Okay, take your coin.
Thank you.
So what next, right? What I try to do is one acknowledge the emotion, and that was what he did. You know, I'm going to use him as a case study. Here you go, as essentially, what am I feeling? Why am I feeling this way? And what's the cause? You know, and try and call it out, give it a name. And then the other thing is try and get support. She was talking about my band of brothers, spousal support, even spiritual support. You know, for those of us that are Christians, say, God, I'm giving you these emotions. Help me, you know, make something out of them. And hopefully this will help. And now these interesting conversations you're going to have in this holiday season, Thanksgiving, Christmas, you know, and what have you.
And give people their coins for all your activities. Yes.
Thanks for tuning in. It's always a pleasure to have you guys sit with us. Again, if you have any questions, you're part of our community, send us an email here. And we'll do our best to respond to you. And don't forget, we send a newsletter out every Monday. If you're not getting newsletter, same thing, send the email. From our couch to yours, happy holiday.
Bye-bye.